Hi, I'm Connie, Seleca, and I just put up my last holiday decoration. I know it's unusual, but this red ribbon is a very important decoration. Mothers Against Drunk Driving is asking us to change the meaning of tying one on. As a symbol of your commitment not to drink and drive, tie a red ribbon to any visible spot on your car. Join thousands in making these holidays happier by making them safer. Have a wonderful holiday and tie one on for safety.
Out with the old and in with the new at Jack Roberts Appliance.
That means Jack has priced all last year's models at savings up to 70%.
This is a grand finale year-end clearance now through January 2nd only.
Fantastic savings on all TVs, videos, audio, and appliances.
Magic Chef washers, dryers, refrigerators, ranges, freezers, and dishwashers.
Zero down with low payments or choose 90 days, same as cash or bank cards.
Savings at all 4 stores, Renton, Seattle, Everett, or Linwood.
Jack Roberts grand finale sale now through January 2nd only.
I won't be undersold.
It's not at Toyota, it's not at Honda, and it's not at Nissan. But it is at Bellevue Mitsubishi. It's Japan's car of the year, the Mitsubishi Galant. If you're looking at new cars, don't buy anything until you've seen Galant at Bellevue Mitsubishi. Now with a special grand opening price of $10,790 with zero down and monthly payments of only $179. Galant from Bellevue Mitsubishi on Bellevue's Auto Row, challenging all the competition.
Scott Schneider has muscular dystrophy, but that hasn't stopped him from becoming one of the top athletes in the world. His incredible spirit and determination have enabled him to compete with some of the world's best, and you'll meet him on our next show.
And we'll also be joined by that songbird of General Hospital, Robin Bernard. Not only will she fill us in on her current role, she'll also do a song from her latest album. Robin Bernard sings, so join us.
Northwest Afternoon, Monday at 3 on KOMO TV4.
It was my first Christmas away from home. I was 19. I had my first full-time job as a radio news reporter. I was feeling very independent and terribly cool, but I was away from home. I was feeling pretty sorry for myself. So I proceeded to eat this elaborate Christmas Eve dinner. I will never forget it. It was a cup of bisque of tomato soup and a tuna sandwich. Then comes this knock at my door. I open it and there's a hat box all wrapped sitting on the porch. I didn't see anyone, so I picked it up and put it under the tree, because I don't open my Christmas presents till Christmas morning. A little while later, I hear this whining noise, and I look around and I find that the sound is coming from the hat box. I take off the top, and there's this little puppy. He saved my Christmas. For years, I would look at this dog and remember the first Christmas I was all alone.
Jeopardy! Weeknights at 7:30. From ABC News, The Weekend Report, here's Karen Stone.
Good evening. President-elect George Bush today named Elizabeth Dole to be his Secretary of Labor. Last year, Mrs. Dole resigned as Transportation Secretary to help in her husband's unsuccessful bid for the White House. But apparently, whatever bad blood might have developed between George Bush and Senator Bob Dole during the campaign was not being held against Mrs. Dole today. Jim Wooten reports.
Hers is not exactly a new face, but her appointment was something of a surprise, and the vice president on his front step seemed happy to spring it.
She's a woman of talent, integrity, great skill, and of course, tremendous experience.
She's also married to the Republican leader in the Senate, but that, said the president-elect, had nothing to do with her appointment. Although,
if there's a dividend in there, I accept it.
He and Mr. Dole have been bitter rivals, but both tried to minimize that today and focus on Mrs. Dole's appointment.
It wasn't because she's a woman, A, or B, because there's any rift between me and the president-elect. That's history. That's behind us.
And she was also upbeat about running the Labor Department.
The real challenge and the joy of this job is to be able to promote the welfare of working families, working men and women.
Mrs. Dole's critics say she's stronger on style than substance, but her confirmation faces no known obstacles. Even her husband says he'll vote for it, although, as he put it, he'll have to learn to cook again and maybe make the bed. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Washington.
In the Nashville suburb of Franklin, Tennessee, a tornado paid a Christmas Eve visit early today and wreaked havoc. The twister touched down 8 times, destroying 20 homes, damaging 37 more. and leveling a hangar at a private airport. 6 people were injured. 1 was killed.
Hi, is that the tour boat?
Ask them.
Is that the sightseeing boat?
Afraid not.
We're all
They're all American Family Publishers millionaires.
Yeah, all of us. Gee, there are so many of you.
More multimillionaires than any of the sweepstakes. The one with my picture. It could make you rich, too.
Just like us.
$10 million rich.
Well, how about me?
You may be next. Last chance to enter. Hurry.
I can't get out of bed.
Ever notice how even the smallest cold turns everything into a big effort?
What a drag!
It's time to get the big relief of Dimetapp. In 12-hour extend tabs, Dimetapp is recommended millions of times by doctors and pharmacists.
So you have a cold? I've got just the thing.
Dimetapp. It gets things back to normal.
Reports tonight claim that among those killed in Wednesday's crash of Pan Am Flight 103 was the Beirut station chief for the CIA. Quoting unnamed U.S. officials, the reports say, however, there is no reason to believe that the agent was the target of terrorists. Meanwhile, in Lockerbie, Scotland, another 84 bodies were recovered today from Wednesday's crash. And as Jerry King reports, there was a glimmer of good news among the gloom.
For 3 days, the Scottish police would only classify those who had lived in these houses as missing. Today, some good news that showed the wisdom of that policy.
There are still 10 local people, including 3 children, missing. 6 people, through inquiries being conducted during the course of today, have been traced alive and well elsewhere.
But more than 20 of the 258 victims from the Pan Am jet have yet to be found. 3 days after the crash, the search is still continuing, and the people of Lockerbie are still trying to come to grips with the enormity of such a disaster at Christmas time. It is a town understandably preoccupied by the fiery explosion that blew away its Christmas spirit. This merchant says the numbness, the initial shock, is now wearing off.
I think the realization is just beginning to settle in now. First 2 days, Wednesday night and all day Thursday, people just stood around not knowing what to do, what to think, what had happened.
Just visiting one of the crash scenes helped a relative of a Pan Am passenger.
Well, I think you'd feel better once you actually see this like for yourself.
Many here tried to find comfort in Christmas Eve memorial services, but there were no easy answers to the questions, why our loved ones, and why now? Jerry King, ABC News, Lockerbie, Scotland.
Pope John Paul II tonight celebrated his Christmas midnight mass with prayers for peace, social justice, and freedom. More than 10,000 people packed St. Peter's Basilica to hear the pontiff, whose message was broadcast to some 50 countries, including for the first time the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, at Christ's birthplace, Christmas was ushered in by a far more subdued observance. Dean Reynolds reports from Bethlehem.
At times, it sounded like a traditional Christmas Eve in Bethlehem. But though the people who'd come to Manger Square on this cold, rain-soaked night were happy to join in, there were far fewer voices this year. There were plenty of Israeli soldiers, but they were here to keep things quiet. Bethlehem, like other cities on the West Bank, has been swept up this year in the Palestinian uprising. Midnight Mass next to the Grotto of the Nativity was said by the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Michel Saba, a Palestinian from Nazareth. Father Saba called for an end to the violence, and in a political vein, he added that it is the right of a people to have their own home. That's what Palestinians have been fighting for over the last 12 months. Local Palestinians were asked by leaders of the year-long uprising to stay indoors and to keep the celebrations to a minimum. And in fact, they had little to celebrate. There were more violent clashes today, not far from Bethlehem. While in Tel Aviv tonight, peace-minded Israelis were demonstrating for an end to the occupation. But that isn't coming anytime soon. Another Christmas has arrived in the Holy Land, but its message of peace on earth, goodwill toward men, has gone unheeded for another year. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Bethlehem.
Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi today denied charges that he has built a massive chemical weapons plant in Libya, saying the factory only produces medicine. At the same time, Libya said today it would endorse a ban on all chemical weapons at a conference to be held next month. In another seemingly unrelated event today, Gaddafi also said he would return to the U.S. the body of a U.S. Air Force pilot killed in the 1986 American raid on Libya. Gaddafi called the act, quote, a Christmas greeting.
Ex-Lax presents a gentle guarantee. A guarantee that Ex-Lax works gently by 8 a.m. when taken at bedtime or your money back. A promise you can count on. Ex-Lax, guaranteed complete relief by 8 a.m.
I won $1 million in Publishers Clearinghouse.
We won even bigger, $10 million. Now you can win in the biggest Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes ever. $10 million could be yours if you hurry. We're announcing more winning numbers, more prizes than ever before right on TV. One entry now is good for 5 giant prizes, even $10 million, January 31st. You can win $10 million too. Just look for this house and enter the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Come on, send it in.
Gas pain, bloating. Gas-X has the strongest, fastest relief ingredient. Painful gas is like beer bubbles. Add the leading antacid. Add Gas-X. Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas. The strongest, fastest reliever for gas pain and bloating. Gas-X.
Sunday on This Week with David Brinkey. What really happened to Flight 103? Accident or act of terrorism? How are we to avoid air disaster? Sunday.
While the holidays are for many a happy time of year, they're also a time of extreme stress. George Strait of The Health Show joins us with the not-so-joyful news about how many people deal with holiday stress.
Many Americans use food as a way of dealing with the holiday stress. We eat to forget, we eat because it's there, but the bottom line is that an average person will gain about 7 pounds during the festivities. But it doesn't have to be that way if we make the right decisions.
We are all ingrained with an addiction for sweet and an addiction for fat that goes back to Stone Age times. And you really can't fight it, but what you can do is to make some smart food choices when presented with lots of food.
For example, if you're at a holiday party stuck in front of the cheese and crackers, move over to the table that has cut up vegetables or popcorn that's made without oil. Also, it's a good idea to eat a small meal before you get to the party so you're not hungry when you get there. That way you're not as likely to be tempted by high-fat, high-calorie foods. Some of the culprits to look out for include snack crackers, donuts, cakes and cookies, and stay away from those soft cookies. The softer they are, the more cooking oil there is in them.
Another important category of high-fat foods are nuts. It turns out that all kinds of peanuts, Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts are very high in calories. A single peanut can have 40 or more calories.
Probably the most important way to control your weight during the holidays or at any time is simply walk away from the refrigerator. Karen?
Thank you, George. The Health Show, which can be seen on most ABC stations, will return next Sunday following a Christmas break.